Story number 5, trying to maintain trust in the healthcare industry. Now, this is a story that kind of has been tagging along the healthcare debate. Even in the debate, we've seen politicians going at it. We've seen candidates like Bernie Sanders have a heart attack. We've just seen Elijah Cummings pass away. And you look at story number 5, and all of its reality is the fact that the United States still has a healthcare problem. Now, there was a story that surfaced in this week that made it to the top 8 about the drug war and the drug problems that this country faces. But healthcare is still a big thing. And how do you charge people to live? And how do you charge people who may have children and they may not be higher, and they may not have the money, they may not have the higher incomes or even enough money to be able to feed their families. I even saw Michael Jordan decided that he wanted to invest in a hospital. I've seen that, and when you see hospitals closing in some neighborhoods, especially some lower income neighborhoods, I look at these stories and I see things happening. One thing I can say about story number 5 is it's in the details. It's important, and that's why I said story number 5 it almost made it to the top 3. It's in the details that the world still has a need for doctors, for just people who want to save lives, and they're finding better methods and revolutionary methods every day on how to treat certain sicknesses, certain people. And some people have even lost trust in some of the medical institutions. There was a story that made it in, I think, about how vaccine exemption rates among U.S. kindergartners continue to climb according to the CDC. So you see that some mothers are not getting their kids vaccinated, and some fathers do not trust the government, do not trust vaccinations, shots. So you see these stories like this surfacing in. Even when it comes to health, Navy veterans' family plans to sue the VA over suspicious hospital death ruled a homicide. So look at this. Look at how people are even suing the medical industry. Me myself personally, I think that just dealing with it, I see a lot of good things. I try to look at the positive, but there are a lot of people who have been affected by the healthcare industry. Bacterial disease sickening dogs in Colorado can spread to humans. There was even a story about a disease. I think it was Legionnaire's disease. How it was in a hot tub at a fair, and it spread to some of the people who were at the fair. So you look at these stories, and it all it does is let you know that you need hospitals, you need doctors, you need people who study biomedicine, biochemicals, biology, on any type of scientific field. And you could, I got nothing against the Heavenly Father, but sometimes He sends us these gifted people who can be who spend their entire lives trying to cure the common cold. I don't think that happens by accident. Now, that's just the way I think. Now, I don't think that you could just be sitting at an altar all day praying for no reason. Somebody has to leave the altar and go out and study. But if I don't want, I'm just trying to be as sensitive as on the topic as possible, because everybody worships God in some fashion. But there are people who are considered enemies of the people who actually go out and study to try to make other people's lives better, and they watch people give the spiritual beings the credit. But the fact is that these are real stories, and in the healthcare field, you could pray all day, but I believe that God gives us the ability to heal each other and to perform miracles, and that's why story number 5 is unique. Biden's attack on the single payer option. Now, the simple fact is that when you look at the medical institution, I believe there was a movie that came out years ago. I think it was called John Q. I think Denzel Washington played in it, and it basically homed in on the fact that there was a child who needed a heart, and he couldn't afford it, and his father went out on a limb And next thing you know, he held this hostage. He had everybody in the hospital hostage. I believe it was based off a true story. But these are things that happen within the healthcare industry. There are people who need kidneys, and sometimes these people want a single payer option. They don't want to have to pay deductibles. Some people want donations, some people want contributions, some people don't have the money. Period. This is a well-known fact because of the fact that healthcare is a big thing. I could go out tonight, drive down the street, there could be somebody drunk driving, smash my car, and I may just have Medicaid or Medicare, who knows. But the fact is that I have to have some type of coverage, and I may not have certain things in my coverage. And when you look at the fact of Lyndon Johnson's for the Great Society, you look at the big picture. These laws were put in place to help out less fortunate people like myself. I may take my entire money and invest it in somebody's healthcare who I love. So this is why story number 5 is there, because we often take our minds off of our health, our psychological health, our mental health. So that's why story number 5 is here, and that's why it probably will be here to stay. I see this story gaining some steam. More people are starting to prefer managing abortions, their own abortions themselves. That is scary. That is very scary. When women are so afraid to bring, and they're afraid to have sex, they're afraid to bring children in the world. Now, folks, let me remind you, these are natural human abilities. Try being alone or in solitude for 3, ask someone in prison what it feels like to be left alone for 14, 20 years, not being able to go out amongst the masses. Folks, this is what happens when a woman isolates herself to not want to bring children into the world, or when she does not want to face the consequences. Now, that's another case. Or when a woman is raped. These are things that happen because of our flaws as human beings, to not want to accept the consequences of our own nature. I myself, I'm learning, even through these stories, to try my best to try to improve my own circumstances. I have bad habits just like everybody else. I'm not perfect, but I hate to see people who don't understand the big picture, the long-term investments, the fact that somebody someday has to care for us fragile human beings in a nursery home, and we have to account for all the wrong we've done in the past, or the people even around us. And that's why story number 5 has the ability to healthcare is a big thing, because a female, when it comes to nurturing children, and they're afraid, or they don't have enough confidence in mankind, that is very scary. Trump trying to thwart Obamacare, new ruling on the Affordable Care Act. These are stories that are always alive. I've read a few books on the Affordable Care Act, and I even looked at some videos on YouTube, and I saw the agenda and the ability for every American to be able to afford health care. And it's a very touching topic, but there's a reality that people are still suffering. People do not understand that they have the freedom to decide which medications they're on. Some people are taking advantage of the Medicare system, selling their So this is just a industry, the medical industry has just changed. People who are shopping for cheap drugs, not wanting to pay the full price for the real drugs. It's just a big industry that really has changed, and it shows you why, if the Bible is correct, why Yeshua, Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, they call all God, Isis, all different types of names for the God of all, Osiris. They've got all different names for our God, the God that the human beings are supposed to serve, sacrificial lamb. But it shows you why the story is written the way it is, because when you've got healing power and you've got sympathy and love for your fellow man, there are some people who just like to keep things intact and keep things under control. I mean, no offense. They have all different names for the grace that we get from living this life, but there's nothing graceful in watching someone suffer and having to account for a full medical bill when they have to pay $50,000 and they're only making 1% of that. This is a scary topic, and that's why I crept its way into the top 8. I do my best. I wish I had all the answers, and I don't mean to offend anybody with their religious beliefs, but story number 5 will take you there. I've seen enough. I've seen people come and go. I've seen people with chemotherapy, people get shot, put in an emergency room, having to wait for hours. Me, myself, I've seen it. I've seen veterans die. I've seen things come back with limbs missing. Folks, this is a real deal story. And if I have to use that harsh language to get your attention, it is a real story. Texas mom gets 6 years in prison after subjecting son to a series of unnecessary surgeries and medical tests. That means that women are taking their children to the hospital for sometimes no apparent reason. Story number 5 has the ability to get people to understand what is really happening, why we need to be educated, why we need to be informed, and why we need to up our ability to not only indulge in intellectual property, but understanding what many Americans who are less informed are thinking about and why they're doing what they're doing. That's why this story is at number 5. It has the ability to make us greater and to make us believe in something greater, and not just our ability within ourselves, but the God in us and the God ability, which God, I believe, probably tells us if we are hearing voices. And that's why story number 5 has the ability to gain some steam. If you're hearing voices, go to story number 5. You're in the Mediator with me, Brian West, where I'm hearing voices all the time from the right, the left, the news journalists, but I'm using the better method. I'm doing my research, trying to get informed. I'm not taking anybody's sides. I'm giving you, the viewer, the decision to better yourself, to find out, and to even go find the sources on the website or on our Twitter feed. I navigate these stories, and I also post the references on the website so you can find them out yourselves. And you may want to read, you may want to see what stories are interesting and what stories may impact you. Some of these stories may not affect you, but they're here for you so you can understand what is actually happening and to see how they affect you. That's what I'm doing, and that's why I'm moderating. I'm not only a moderator, but I'm a mediator. I'm trying to figure out what you can get out of the deal and what the other person can get out of the deal as well. So I'm mediating. I'm doing what I do. So if you want to help me out or help my cause, now just remember, the news and journalists, the people on the front lines, they deserve all the credit. I just mediate, doing my research, reading, and doing the best I can to keep you informed. So if you want to be a contributor and help out in any way, METHOD, the number 8, INC.com, Mediator.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Now remember, every little bit counts. So if you want to be a contributor, figure out what's going on, you may have your own radio program, your own news outlets, METHOD, the number 8, INC.com, Mediator.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Every little bit counts.
If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.